So again come to the fourth arch. What I told you with the various correlations, that fourth arch is having the muscle. Which muscle? Yes, fourth arch is having the muscle again cricothyroid, all the muscles of the pharynx and all the muscles of the palate with particular exception. So after this fourth arch, now we are going to discuss about the sixth arch, because the fifth arch disappears. So sixth arch muscles, what are the muscles of the sixth arch? Remember, sixth arch muscle, all muscles of larynx. Yes, first arch muscles of the mastication, second arch near the neck, third arch near the pharynx, stylopharyngeus, fourth arch, yes, muscles of the palate and the pharynx. Yes, the muscles migrates to forms the muscles of the palate as well as the pharynx, and the sixth arch, it is making the muscles of the larynx. So whatever the structure getting developed by the pharyngeal apparatus, they all are restricted near the pharynx. Okay, so yes, all the muscles of the larynx. Okay, what I am telling you, sixth arch, it gives rise to the all the muscles of the larynx. So the nerve of the sixth arch, do you remember? Yes, the nerve of the sixth arch, your answer is the recurrent laryngeal nerve. That's why correlate with the gross embryology, gross anatomy, all the muscles of the larynx are supplied by the recurrent laryngeal nerve. Why? Because they are derived by the sixth arch, and the nerve of the sixth arch, your answer is the recurrent laryngeal nerve. But do you remember one exception? Yes, that is the cricothyroid. Do you remember cricothyroid was developing from the fourth arch? Okay, so this cricothyroid is supplied by the nerve of the fourth arch, that is the superior laryngeal nerve, which was having the two nerves, internal and external. Internal was sensory, so the better answer is the external laryngeal nerve. If external laryngeal is not given, you can mark the superior laryngeal nerve also. Okay, so this is the pattern running in the recent exams. So these all about the arch muscle. But here we are going to make one table for your convenience, so that you can remember all the exception. Yes, make the table. All muscles of. So this is the first column. Here we are going to discuss about the pharynx, second palate, third, yes, larynx, and the fourth, that is the one more thing we will see later, that is the tongue. Okay, so we are going to discuss this all the things. Now see, after all this muscle, next column you have to draw supplied by. So here is another column. Okay, so can you tell me all the muscles of the pharynx, they are derived by which arch? Yes, your answer is the fourth arch. So your answer is the nerve of the fourth arch, that is the superior laryngeal nerve, but better answer is the vagus nerve, but better answer is the vagoaccessory complex, and the best answer is the pharyngeal plexus. How can you remember? P for palate, P for pharynx. And in the same way for the palate also, fourth arch, pharyngeal plexus, same. But next column, except. Yes, except. So just tell me which is one muscle which is not developing from the fourth arch in pharynx. Definitely your answer is stylopharyngeus. Stylopharyngeus. And the muscle in the palate, we will see, yes, that is the tensor palatini. Now you have to give the answer. This stylopharyngeus and tensor palatini, they are supplied by. So next another column is supplied by. Okay, so can you correlate? The stylopharyngeus was derived from which arch? Yes, your answer is that was derived from third arch, and the nerve of the third arch, your answer is the glossopharyngeal nerve. So your answer stylopharyngeus, glossopharyngeal nerve. Yes. So what is your statement? Can you compare? All the muscles of the pharynx are supplied by the pharyngeal plexus except stylopharyngeus, which is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. Got the point? Now in the same way, all the muscles of the palate, they are supplied by the pharyngeal plexus, or you can mark the vagoaccessory complex also, except tensor palatini, because you know the tensor palatini is developing from which arch? Yes, answer is first arch. So it is supplied by the nerve of the first arch, that is the mandibular nerve. Later we will see what are the other branches of the mandibular nerve in detail in cranial nerve part. Now see, recurrent laryngeal nerve. You know, all the muscles of the larynx, they develop from which arch? Your answer is the sixth arch, and the nerve of the sixth arch is recurrent laryngeal nerve. So all the muscles of the larynx are supplied by the recurrent laryngeal nerve, except in column of the except, what you have to write down? Yes, cricothyroid. Do you remember? The cricothyroid was developing from which arch? Your answer is the fourth arch. So nerve of the fourth arch, do you remember? Yes, that is the superior laryngeal nerve, but the better answer, the branch of the superior laryngeal nerve, that was the external laryngeal nerve. So this is the one more exception. Again, in our larynx part, we will see all the muscles of the larynx are supplied by recurrent laryngeal nerve, except cricothyroid, which is supplied by the external laryngeal nerve. And later we will see the tongue muscles. The muscles of the tongue, they develop from which structure? Later we will see somites. Do you remember somites? From the occipital part up to the sacrum coccyx part. So the occipital somites migrates within the tongue. And do you remember somites divides into three parts: sclerotome, dermatome, myotome. Yes, so occipital myotome will make the muscles. Myo means muscle. So what I want to tell you, the tongue muscles develops from occipital myotome, and the nerve which is running within the occipital myotome, that is the 12th nerve. So what you have to remember? Yes, all the muscles of the tongue are supplied with the 12th nerve. Got the point? So these are the MCQs. Later we will discuss in detail in our tongue part. But remember, all the muscles of the tongue are supplied by the 12th nerve, except, yes, except, do you remember one muscle of the tongue which is also attached with the palate, that is the palatoglossus. Can you observe? This palatoglossus is the very special kind of the muscle, which is the muscle of the palate as well as the tongue. That's why palatoglossus. But because it is mainly the muscle of the palate, that's why it should be supplied by the nerve of the palate. And which is the nerve of the palate? You know very well, that is the pharyngeal plexus. Again, this all the things we will discuss later, but this is one very beautiful table, very high yield table for the gross anatomy, for the medicine, for the ENT, all the subject. What is the last statement? Again I am revising for you. Yes, the last statement is all the muscles of the tongue are supplied by the 12th nerve, except palatoglossus, which is supplied by the pharyngeal plexus. You can also mark the vagoaccessory complex. You can also mark the vagus nerve. So this is all about these muscles correlating with the gross anatomy. Also this will be useful for your ENT and the medicine for the various cranial nerve examination. Okay, so after this topic of the muscle, now we are going to discuss about the skeletal element within the pharyngeal arch.